Hello and welcome to Sunday service with me, your host. What's up? Today's video will be short and sweet, straight to the point, we're not losing any time. There's this person that I've been following for a while on the internet that is currently getting dragged, like cancelled big time. And they were portraying this really sweet image, really kind, understanding, comforting persona, right? And now they're currently being demasked as actually being borderline predatory and an awful person and physically violent and all of that. So it just reminded me of a comment that I read a couple of years ago and it just stuck to me. It's just quite funny because it's like it doesn't really relate, but it kind of does, about how hippies are bad people cosplaying as good people and goths being good people cosplaying as bad people. And that's a really interesting concept, right? And I feel like those types of people are more commonly encountered than we would like to believe. Like most people think, oh, they are just exceptions, when in reality, let's be honest, most people have personas. Nobody. And the quote from Kafka saying something like, I was so disappointed when I realized everybody has been living life wearing a mask and I attended wearing my real face. Ooh, that thing was crazy when he said that. But before we start, let's just keep that in mind, that it is okay, and certain situations ask for this type of behavior, right? Certain situations ask for you to disguise yourself in order to very much be safe. And in order to be safe and avoid confrontation, avoid a bad situation, that's fine. I'm not speaking about isolated cases when you absolutely have to put up a mask to defend yourself. Here the whole point of this video is to criticize people who have this pattern. So it's not an isolated case, it's not 1, 2, 3 times. It's people that have acted like this over time and had this disguise as their main strategy to go through life, which is not good for obvious reasons. First of all, being dishonest, and second of all, just attracting people for the wrong reasons. Let's start with the first case of like the bad person disguising themselves as a good person. So how will this person present? I've actually had a lot of people in my life that were disguising themselves as such. So they commonly appear as non-confrontational, soft-spoken, they might have people-pleasing tendencies, and they might just appear like an angel. I had a few people in my life that I literally believed they were absolute angels. I was just looking at them and I was like, I could never hurt them in my life. They're the sweetest, kindest person ever. Whoa. Whoa, it was not like that at all. Turns out, once you discover through time, you fuck around and you find out they're actually manipulative and egocentric, and that 100% pure angel is actually a really sweet looking devil. But you're gonna ask yourself, why are people doing that? And obviously they want to get something out of it, otherwise they wouldn't be putting up all this disguise. So they want understanding, they want gentle love, and they want support, and they want affection, but they're egocentric, remember? So that goes hand in hand with being selfish and not wanting to give anything back. So, in order to still get what they want and not be required to give anything in return, because I'm here just to take, I'm not into all of that. Instead, they're gonna attract empathetic people, people who are struggling, who are destroyed, and people that feel like they found somebody who they can resonate with. So they will attract actual, genuine, good people who think, oh my god, this is my friend, this is so great. I befriended somebody who thinks exactly like me, who sees the world from the same lens. And it's not. And most of the time, it's not like that. Let me give you more examples of how this awful person can disguise as a good person. People that post a lot of nice quotes online. I feel like this has became a meme on the internet in general. School bullies and just genuinely awful people disguising themselves as the best people online with Bible quotes, with live, laugh, love kind of speeches, and be kind and be understanding and let's love each other, and they always preach love, but they have none in their hearts. That's as a way of getting attention. They want good energy on them, despite them having none to give. That's why they keep taking. They're sort of energy vampires in a way. Although that's slightly a different thing. But they tend to be of that category because they like to take advantage of others, essentially. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take advantage of people. Sometimes you are so empty and you need support and all that. And some people are fine with helping you through it. Some people are okay with giving you affection and attention without it being exactly 50-50. Some people are willing to go, and again, the empaths, right? The empaths are willing to go 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, and they are fine with it. But it's not good if that's your main thing. And over time, instead of growing out of it and identifying that, wait, hold on, something is wrong, you need to keep yourself in check. You need to check your brain and be like, wait, hold on, this is not okay to pull long term. If you pulled it at some point, it's fine. If it's a pattern, please keep yourself in check. Please do some self-reflection, because that's not on. I've had another person in my university class actually who was so obnoxiously live, laugh, love online, but then they were treating me very awfully for no goddamn reason. Like, we weren't even friends. We never even had a proper conversation, but they were treating me so shit in real life. They were always supporting all the right political causes and loving the environment and loving the people, and we're all friends and we're all family and all that. And in reality, they were rotten, very much rotten. And I feel like the more those people perform this amazing role about how good their views and their opinions are, the more awful they're gonna be. The more awful you're gonna be, because why do you have to prove that? Like, yeah, prove that, but when it's excessive, a question mark should pop up. Like, nobody ever has every single opinion be absolutely correct. Nobody is gonna be absolutely correct in every single matter. And when they try to portray that image, it's a bit stinky. Okay, last thing about the awful people disguising as good people, before we get to the tea break and all the sweet stuff, is very much pay attention whenever you're in a really bad place to these kinds of people. Because from my own experience, it seems like whenever you're in a low point, you seem to attract people who want to take away from you even more. You're gonna attract people that will take advantage of the fact that you are at a low point, so they can take as much as they can for themselves. As much as you need a shoulder to cry on, and you want affection, and you need support while you're in a bad place, be aware and have like your radar on when it comes to those types of people, because it's very, very easy to fall for their manipulation and their mind games while you're not doing very well. I feel like the easiest way to demask such people is by setting boundaries. Let's say that yes, you're empathetic and you obviously care a lot about the other person, so you're willing to stretch and mold your boundaries a bit more around them. So, the whole situation works out in the end. But then as soon as you like mold your boundaries and you let them do more, they're gonna do more. So you're gonna have to put a foot in the door at some point and be like, no, this is the line, you don't step it. And that's how you're gonna demask them, because they are forced to take accountability for stepping on your tail at that point. And instead of taking accountability for it, they will take the blame on themselves, and they're gonna try to make you feel bad for asserting boundaries for them. So they're gonna say things amongst the lines of, oh, thank you for telling me this. And, I really appreciate, but, I'm just, the way my life has been and my background and my childhood and everything, that's where you need to pay attention, because as much as you're gonna be inclined to feel bad for them, you need to remember that this whole conversation started because they make you feel bad. So why are you really reversing? How does reversing this whole situation really help your case? If they're gonna try to make you feel bad, that means that they hope you'll step back from asserting your boundaries and you're gonna allow them to express them more freely, because they had all these bad things happen to them in the past. And you have to remember, it's none of your business what they have gone through before. If they make you uncomfortable, if you feel like they're taking advantage of you, cut them off. As much as they might be the only person in your life, as much as you do realize that you're gonna miss them and you're gonna be hurt afterwards, cut them. Cut them off. Because if they don't respect you in a moment of weakness, that's all you need to know about them. There's no other discussions involved. If they act like that while you're at your lowest, that says everything about the nature of the relationship and how they see you in general. Because if you see a hurt animal on the side of the road, your natural response should be to go ahead and help them, not to kick them, not to try to provoke even more pain. So if you're at a low point and you say, no, you're hurting me right now, and this is what will make me feel better, and instead of trying to comfort you and apologize and try to better themselves, they just reverse it and refuse to take accountability, it means they're never gonna fix themselves and they're gonna keep stepping on your tail even more, but hoping that next time you won't notice. They will not give up on it, they will just try to conceal it a bit better. And if you keep forcing your boundaries, they're gonna act like you are the awful one and cut you off. So do yourself a service and cut them first if they're not willing to adjust their behavior a little bit when it obviously makes you uncomfortable. Tea break. Today we have a sheep on the mug. This is it. And the tea of today is again a classic. It's Yorkshire tea with milk. And for the snack, we have oat biscuits. We have oat biscuits, which are amazing. I always say that, I just love tea treats. Okay, let's go. Dunk. I'm pretty sure I said dip before, but it's supposed to be dunk. Deep dunk, I feel like they both fit. I just dripped on my skirt. Okay, now onto the second case scenario of good people cosplaying as bad people. And you would think, but they're good people, why would they do that? The first case is used more for ego purposes. The second case, I very much believe, is a trauma response. Because this whole idea, wait, I wrote it down. People observe differences way easier than similarities. And this is really interesting to think about, because let's say you're a good person, right? You're trying to act nice, and especially if you're raised religious, if you act moral and you're a good person and you're kind and you're loving, everybody gonna treat you great. And you get to adulthood and you realize that's not at all the case. You realize that there's people that will take as much as they can if you allow them to. There's people that are gonna literally prey on your kindness. So if you are raised as a good person, you're gonna be rightfully scared of the world around you. So how are you gonna handle the whole situation with people being downright terrifying? Is to just display yourself as an awful person. Because you do notice awful people getting treated a lot better. Bad people. This is a lot more nuanced than it actually sounds, but stick with me, right? You're a good person and you notice I'm not treated right. People don't appreciate my kindness most of the times. People take me for a fool, they think I'm naive, they think I'm foolish. And those bad people, which is in terms more assertive, outspoken people, are getting treated way better than me. So you're essentially trying to reshape yourself to seem as a more awful person in order to expect better treatment and in order to scare people a little bit so they don't act as bad as they would normally do. Because when you are kind and you're empathetic, people are gonna be like those like dogs with like their teeth out, and they're just gonna be like salivating over you all the time, be like, oh, I want a bite of that. They're gonna be like rabid dogs whenever they see a genuinely generous person, right? So if you're nonchalant, you're gonna try to seem nonchalant. If you're kind, you're just gonna try to seem like, oh, it's whatever, I don't care. And if you're generous, you're gonna try to seem like, oh yeah, gifts, not really my thing. When they actually is, oh golly shit, I love giving gifts. Yeah, it's a response to being stepped on repeatedly. And ironically enough, those two cases of like the bad people and the good people cosplaying as the opposites of each other. Bad people cosplaying as good people are the cause of why good people start cosplaying bad people. And you're gonna be like, oh, that's paradoxical. How does that happen? So, I mentioned that when a bad person cosplaying a good person is meeting a genuinely good person, that person is gonna think that they found somebody like them, also kind and nice, and then they're open their hearts to them and just be really kind and generous and offer their entire love to them, and they're gonna get stepped on, right? And after multiple encounters like that, you're just gonna think like, oh, it's not safe. You're just gonna think, oh, most people are not genuinely kind, they're all faking it. Nobody is really like this naturally, it's all just a scam. So it's gonna create this whole idea in your head that I cannot resonate with people naturally by being kind because people are faking kindness. So in order for me to feel like I can connect with other people, I am gonna try to make myself a bit more awful. I'm gonna try to stop myself from being so nice and hopefully save myself more emotional damage in the future, because everything goes through comparison. Because from our lived experiences, we can get to anticipate the future. And if our previous lived experiences are pretty bad and hurtful, we're gonna assume that they're always gonna be like that. So we're trying to build some stuff in the present to make it less awful for ourselves from now on. And for some people, trying to seem more scary and intimidating is something that works. And I've personally been in both cases because I feel like it's a constant loop in my head. Most of the times I feel like I'm very much in a neutral state. I don't feel like a good person. I don't feel like a bad person. But whenever I'm trying to act like a good person, I feel like I'm cosplaying that. And whenever I'm trying to act more bad, I feel like I'm a good person cosplaying. And I always feel like not genuine in any of my actions for some reasons, because I just keep over analyzing my behavior to the extent that I'm not sure how I actually am anymore. And I said in the first case, how can you demask somebody cosplaying a good person? Is you assert boundaries, right? In this case, how do you demask an actual good person who is cosplaying as an awful person? Because it's a very different intention behind, and it's a very different strategy to all of this. Because one aims to take advantage and another aims to defend themselves. So how do you demask a fake evil person? It's just by like noticing how they treat strangers, animals, and just how do they react to genuine acts of kindness, especially unexpected ones. Let's say like a small gift, like a thoughtful gesture. You can very quickly see whether they are genuinely as scary and intimidating and nonchalant as they act just by showing care towards them. Really, it's the easiest thing you can check if somebody actually likes you, by showing some interest in them, isn't it? It's very simple and straight to the point. So the whole conclusion is, there's this whole stereotype around dogs, which sounds stupid, but hear me out. There's this whole stereotype about dogs, about small dogs like chihuahuas and pom-poms or whatever, those Pomeranians, Pomeranian, 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 the small dog, fluffy white dogs being really aggressive and really heated up all the time and always barking and always trying to bite and always trying to start some beef. And then there's this really huge dogs, like polar bears looking dogs. They're just the chillest, sweetest, most family-friendly dogs you can think of. And I feel like that's the best example I can give for everybody to understand. Although, obviously, the way the dogs are raised is a bit more complicated, but we're not gonna get onto why the dog's behavior is like that. We're just gonna take the appearances alone. This is very difficult to explain. So, whenever somebody is seen as scary or intimidating, they are subconsciously a little bit aware that that's how they come across. So they go an extra mile to try to make themselves a bit nicer personality-wise. So let's say you dress all black and you wear all spikes and you look like Swedish metal band member, like at all times. People are gonna perceive you, oh my god, this person is really intimidating. So having a scary image or an unapproachable image overall forces you to reconsider how you act in a way, because you're aware most people see you a certain way, so you're keeping yourself in check, trying to go an extra mile to be kind and show that despite your looks you're actually different. But for awful people cosplaying as good people, they try to get away with a lot more things by portraying this good persona. They're gonna act clueless, they're gonna act confused. They're gonna say like, oh, I didn't know that hurt you. It wasn't my intention. Although it low-key kind of was. So people who are seen as good are gonna take advantage of the fact that they're seen as good to get away with more stuff. And people who are seen as bad are gonna try to beat that stereotype and actually better themselves in order to be perceived as better. So the conclusion is, the world is separated into chihuahuas and Rottweilers. We need to stop giving appearances that much of an importance and just focus on how people actually treat us. Be aware of really kind people and think twice whenever somebody looks rude according to the stereotype that everybody is reinforcing. Because the Chihuahua is small and sweet doesn't mean it's gonna actually act sweet. And just because the Rottweiler is big and scary doesn't mean they're actually gonna have a big and scary personality. Yeah, especially with the whole online medium, with judging everything by their cover, let's keep in mind that what people have to say and people's opinions and how they react in certain situations is way more important than how they come across. Just because they have long blonde hair and they have angelic eyes doesn't mean they're actually angelic, and certain behaviors shouldn't be excused no matter the appearances. Before I leave, album of today is this one. It's called Alone in the Woods by Fursaxa, Fursaxa. That's the band. Yeah, album from 2007. It's really, really nice. And I'm not even sure how I should describe it. I'm not even sure what this genre is. I found this album by accident, but it's damn amazing. I recommended it to a friend. They listened to it 4 times in a row. So trust, you're gonna love it. So yeah, thank you for another day with me. It's literally 1 month since I started those weekly videos. Again, on every Sunday I post random thoughts, random opinions. So if you enjoyed this video, stick around. There might be more hopefully interesting topics. And yeah, enjoy the music recommendation and have a nice week.